It's just hi, Lindsay. This is Melinda Roy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am good. I hope you are enjoying the presentations.
Um, I'm sure I will. I have been too nervous to watch anybody else. I've just been prepping.
Okay. So before you start your presentation, I would like to introduce you to the audience. Who you are? Where are you from? So welcome on stage, Lindsay Matthews. She is a professional TEDx speaker and founder of Klinger HR, where she aims to transform human resources into human relations. Recognized as an HR Achievement Honoree by Utah Business Magazine in 2024, she holds a bachelor's degree in women's studies from the University of Utah and a master's in organizational leadership from Gonzaga University. She is a dedicated partner, mother of five, and pet owner to three dogs, six chickens, and a rooster. Oh, that's interesting. So yes, you can. So the stage is all yours, Lindsay. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with everyone. So thank you so much, Melinda, for that introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. I am so excited to be here with you today and to share, my passion, my commitment to what I'd like the world to look like. So let's share my screen. Oh, 1 second. Let me pull up my presentation. Thank you for being patient. I accidentally closed it just as we were getting ready here. So now, there we go. Okay, there we are. So as Melinda stated, I'm Lindsay Mattis. I am the president and founder of Kinder HR. And just for fun, I'll tell you a little bit more about me, although it seems like it's a bit of a repeat of what she said. I am an HR executive. I've worked in HR for over 25 years. I have a bachelor's degree in women's studies from the University of Utah. So if you're from Utah, go Utes. I have a master's degree from Gonzaga University in organizational leadership. Go Zags. I don't know their sign. So I am also an international speaker. I have had the opportunity to be on a TEDx stage. I recently published my first book. I'm a volunteer. I work with our local repertory dance theater here in Salt Lake City. I'm the president of their board. As you heard, I'm also a wife of 24 years and a mother of 4 beautiful daughters, a lovely son-in-law, and of course, all of our menagerie of animals. And since the bio was sent, we've also attained a cat. So now I believe we have 3 dogs, 1 cat, 5 fish tanks, 6 chickens, and a rooster. So I'm pretty sure I can make that into some sort of 12 Days of Christmas song and a partridge in a pear tree, only it's in the rooster in our backyard. But I'm still working on that. So what I want to talk to you today is about where we are in the world and in our workplaces. We are absolutely in a world of amazing advancements. We have sent people to the moon and delved to the bottom of the ocean in search of the Titanic, of all things. We have made incredible medical advancements, things like eliminating entire viruses from the world. That polio has been eradicated from most continents. And obviously, our technology is amazing. I mean, we have cars that drive themselves. We literally hold the world in the palm of our hands and at the tips of our fingers. And yet, despite all of these incredible advancements, we find ourselves facing an, a, an unfortunate truth, and that is that we are failing to thrive in the realm of humanity. Let's talk first, as an example, of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, landmark legislation created to eliminate discrimination in the workplace for Blacks and other minority groups. It's been 60 years, and yet we still find ourselves facing systemic inequalities. Did you know that women make up 50% of the workforce now? Yet we remain vastly underrepresented in leadership roles. We also still remain underpaid for those same roles, especially women of color. White men, for every dollar that a white man makes, a white woman makes about 73 cents. A Black woman makes about 64 cents. So, despite legislation, we are still struggling. And we've had more legislation. The Lilly Ledbetter Act of 2009 is Equal Pay Act. And yet here we are. We're still struggling. Did you know that most states in the US require an annual workplace harassment prevention training? Yet our claims continue to rise. In 2023, the EEOC reported 81,000 claims of harassment in the workplace just in 2023, equaling $665 million. This is not healthy for our organizations or our people, but this is an expensive problem that we shouldn't have. Y'all, we are going the wrong way. So, how do we bridge the gap between humanity and technology? How do we catapult ourselves to the place where the way we treat each other matches the advancements of our technology? How do we find compassion instead of competition? Unity instead of division? Kindness instead of vitriol? Well, my opinion, my professional HR opinion, don't be a dick. Be kind. And yes, that is a shameless plug of my new book, Don't Be a Dick, HR Advice for a Kinder, Healthier, and More Successful Workplace. And I know that feels very cutting edge for an HR person. We're not supposed to talk like that, but I couldn't help it. It came to me in the most natural of ways. I was actually giving a workplace harassment prevention training at an organization. And there I was, like today, in front of a room of people, sharing slides and statistics and talking about how to make our workplace healthier. And as I looked around the room, I realized nobody was listening. People were playing on their phones. They were flipping through the slide decks. One gentleman, he was napping in the corner. And I know that for a fact because as the presentation progressed, that gentleman sat up, eyes wide, trying to nonchalantly wipe the drool from the side of his mouth, and looked around to see what was happening. Clearly, he had missed something because just before that, I had lost my temper and my mouth got ahead of my brain, which is a thing that tends to happen. I Most HR people have a much better time keeping their feelings in. I'm a very out there talking to you kind of HR person. And so in that moment of frustration, just blurted out, "Come on, guys, just don't be a dick." I was mortified. I covered my hands with my face with my hands. And the room, of course, went silent. And then out of the silence, laughter erupted. That moment of authentic frustration, that moment where my HR hat fell off and I stopped being the HR manager at the front of the room who was giving a speech that everybody had heard year after year, didn't care about, didn't think they even applied to them, and were secretly wishing they could get back to their desks and finish they whatever they were supposed to be doing at that time. At that moment, I became Lindsay, their HR provider, their HR person. The person around their colleague around the corner whose office door was always open, who they came to when they had concerns. We remembered at that moment that we were all in this together, that we were a team. And this wasn't me lecturing them, but us trying to figure out how to make our workplace just that much better. And so at that moment, we put aside the laws and the regulations. I even shut down my PowerPoint slides and we talked. We had an authentic conversation about what it's like to be in our workplace now. Things seem to change so quickly and we don't understand it. And people are asking questions like, what am I supposed to do? Why are people so defensive? I didn't mean it. I wasn't trying to be offensive, but oh my gosh, why does everyone take everything so personally, right? We've all been here where suddenly we've done or said something that we didn't even realize could be hurtful to someone else. And yet here we are. And so as we left that meeting, one of the best trainings I felt like I had been able to give, knowing full well that we were all going back into our worlds and that all of the connection and all of the learning and all of the growth that we had in that moment was probably going to fade away quickly for some, immediately for others. I wanted to figure out a way to take that message with us, remember it, keep it in mind, so that in those moments of indecision, where those moments where we have the opportunity to be kind or to be kind of a dick, we know how to react and we know what to do. So I love a good acronym because, hello, I'm an HR. So we started with, how do I know if I happen to be being a dick or if I am in the company of one? As an HR professional, We love acronyms. So if you haven't already, get out your pen and paper. You're going to want to write these down because you're going to need to know this. So we're going to use the word as an acronym. Start with D. Dismissive or defensive. I. Are you being insensitive? Possibly feeling insecure? Callous or cruel? Are you treating someone callously or are you being treated cruelly? Or K, a killjoy or a know it all. You know, the person in the room who sucks all the air out and makes everyone want to crawl under the table. Yeah, you don't want to be that guy. So, great, now we know. Here's how I know I might be being a dick. But what does that mean? What do we do instead? Well, try kind. K for kinship, community, connection. Why are we all here in this same space right now? There is something that draws us together in every situation. Find that. Find the community and the kinship. If it's nothing more than that we're all just human beings trying to get through, we all have a commonality. Be inquisitive and introspective. Ask questions when you don't understand. And then listen for the answers. Look inside to how you're reacting. How are you feeling about what you just heard and what you're learning? You have to be nimble. Okay, because we are behind. And just like technology, this information now is coming at you what feels like 1,000 miles a minute. You learn one thing and then suddenly you have one new thing that you didn't even know was a thing. Yesterday you thought you could say that, but today you can't say that and you don't understand why. Well, just like with your technology, just like with your operating systems on your phone, download the information as it comes to you and figure it out as you go. Because you and I both know 90% of us, when we see that update to OIS 17.927, however many we always have to download, I don't know what has changed. You don't know what has changed. We just download it knowing that now the system's going to be better. And as we go through, we discover what has changed. And we figure out how to maneuver in that system with the changes. And finally, D, you need to be determined. You need to be dedicated to doing better, to actually finding a way to be kind, even when it's hard. Maya Angelou said, do the best that you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better. That's what that means. So let me share a case study, an example of why and how I know this works. Several years ago, post-COVID, but still not recently, overly recently, I was attending a leadership conference. And in fact, because it was right after COVID and the first sort of event that I'd been to in a public space, I was nervous, a little apprehensive. Oh my gosh, it was in Vegas. So talk about jumping from the nowhere to the germiest place ever. It was pretty frightening. I was a little scared. So as I got to the conference, I was sort of just trying to kind of stay in the background, and everybody was so excited and hyped up, and hopefully the way you have felt this morning getting into this conference, right? We love to get in a conference, and when we're spaced together, it's so energetic. And there were people milling around and greeting each other. I made my way to a table and tried to kind of sit down because I was still a little nervous. And a gentleman approached our table and started greeting everyone else at the table, introducing himself, saying hello. And each of the people at the table stood up and they gave each other big hugs. And when he got to me, I stood up and extended my hand. And he kind of looked at me and he's like, oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 we don't shake hands around here. I'm a hugger. We're huggers. And he stepped in closer. And I stepped back just a little bit. In fact, bumping into the table, stepping back as far as I could. And I said, no, 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 no. I don't want to hug. How about a fist bump? And at that moment, he was given an opportunity, a choice. Okay, he was a hugger in the most positive way. But I was asking not to be hugged. And that put him in an awkward position. And he had a choice to make. He opted to give me a hug. He opted to be the dick. He was dismissive of my boundaries. And you know what? Probably a little defensive because he wasn't expecting my response. He didn't feel like he was doing anything that should require that kind of answer. He was completely insensitive to my discomfort. And possibly he was feeling insecure as well. Here he was in front of all of these other people. And I was like, no, no. He was definitely callous and cruel because despite my verbal objections, despite my physically moving away from him, and the fact that I stood stock still with my arms at my sides during the hug, he chose to do it anyway. And there's no doubt he was a killjoy because that ruined that day of the conference for me. I just, it was not great. And that could be the end of the story. And it's possibly a story many of us have experienced. But the beauty of this story is that this is not the end. You see, the next day, that gentleman found me and, keeping an exceptionally respectful distance, came to me and apologized, sincerely apologized, acknowledged that the way he'd behaved the day before wasn't okay and wasn't a representation of who he was. Even though he had behaved like a dick, it's not a permanent condition. And so he opted to go with kind instead. He remembered our kinship and our community. Why were we there? It was a leadership training, right? We were all there to be better people. He was inquisitive and introspective, asking himself, wait, why didn't I ask her why she didn't want a hug? I mean, we did just have COVID. Lots of people don't want a hug. Why did I do it anyway? That's not who I think I am. He was definitely nimble because I have to tell you that this happened in a 24-hour period. Our first interaction was before the conference started on day 1, and he found me before the conference started on day 2. That's a fast transformation. And finally, he was dedicated and determined to be the leader that he knew that he was. He was so dedicated to that belief in who he was that later that day, when he was on stage speaking and he got up to tell his story, he started with ours. In front of that entire conference, he told the story of how our interaction had gone down, and he apologized and acknowledged that his behavior was not appropriate. That wasn't who he was. And he had already apologized to me, but he took this chance to apologize to me again in front of everybody. That entire room, which he did not need to do. 98% of the people did not know what had happened, certainly didn't know who I was, nor did he call me out. But there were 6 men in that room who had observed our interaction the day before, who had thought about it and had their own opinions about it. And he wanted to make sure that they understood that this was not how we were allowed, how we behaved in this situation. And believe it or not, that's it. That's it. That's kindness. Kindness is catching. And it's how we bridge the gap between each other. We are going to behave like dicks sometimes. It is in our nature. It is a universal trait that crosses racial, religious, cultural, socioeconomic boundaries. It's part of being human. But if we can be kinder, we can change the world. And if you find that it's hard to be kind, just remember, at least don't be a dick. Thank you. Thank you for actually staying. I was going to mention at the front, and I forgot that I have a little gift for all of you that would be interested in learning more. I'm offering a master class on Thursday that's free. So if you'd like to attend, there's the quick QR code so that you could join me. It's also a virtual webinar Thursday on the 24th. So
thank you so much.
you.
Thank you so much.
Do we have any
Thank you so
questions?
much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lindsay. So that was your insights were incredibly valuable. Thank you so much. Such a great message with such clarity and passion. So we do have a question from our audience. The question is, so what is being a dick symbolize in modern human interactions, and how does it impact our relationships in personal and professional settings?
Let me repeat that just to make sure. So, how does it interact in day-to-day we interactions? Is that the question? Like, how does that happen within our just lives in a daily basis? We're gonna go with that. So again, great question. The reality is it's how we start having better conversations with each other. It's how in our daily lives we remember to look at someone as a person first and their ideas and their thoughts and what they believe as a secondary thing. And I think a really, really quick example of that, which could possibly be a little controversial, are pronouns. There's a lot of dispute about pronouns: he, she, they, we, them, whatever. And the reality is they're personal. You get to have yours. Mine's she, her. If I was they, them, it shouldn't matter to you. Why does it matter? So thinking of things like that and saying, okay, I don't understand that. Frankly, I don't think that that's a thing. You don't have to think it's a thing. You can still choose to be respectful. You don't have to understand why my pronouns are important to me, but you can use them whether you get it or not. That is being kind in our daily lives. That answered the question, hopefully.
I think everyone received the answer from Lindsay. Thank you so much for joining this virtual summit 2024 day 2. It was a great presentation by Lindsay. Yes, please do join our next sessions as well and share your thoughts. Please do join our next speaker session. A speaker is already waiting for her presentation.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.